All right, I'll let Clay update us, and I think we're gonna try to agree on a fifth Thursday location right here live.
That's right. So we do a social gathering, nothing special other than the fact we want to get together, say hi to each other once more, talk about what's going on with ourselves. We have done the Prost House in downtown Pflugerville. We've done the Victory Tap in downtown Pflugerville. We've done a Round Rock, the Pint House.
Pint House and also Three-Legged Goat.
And we've done the Three-Legged Goat, which has got a nice porch and a deck. And if the weather is nice, we just stand out there. Any thoughts about who or what you'd like to, any vote for any of those, or something new? Something that's north of us, you know? This would be the fifth Thursday.
Josh has mean things that night. You could all go.
Oh,
Let's go. Let's give him some targets.
where does he does it live out in this?
Precision camera.
Oh, at Precision Camera, but we wouldn't have beer, would we?
Oh, no, they wouldn't have here, unfortunately. You could do it.
You can bring in what you want to.
Well, that's an interesting thought. Of course, we all like to see Josh. Josh Baker was our co-founder. So we appreciate him very much. Would you? Bring your old lens caps. Mary wants your old lens caps. Okay, is there any second for the idea of precision camera?
On the, but I remember when they were talking about, NAPfS was talking about doing a, tour through the Longhorn Caverns. I see, Austin PPA, is doing that now.
I'm not sure I understood you, David.
We were talking about doing the Longhorn Caverns.
Oh, the Longhorn Caverns, the caves. Okay.
We were talking about that a couple months ago. Now I see Austin PPA's got one lined up with a couple models, I believe.
Oh, that sounds like a photo walk. This is actually, there's no photography involved except just hanging out and socializing. It's our social gathering. So I seconded for the 29th. Okay, Precision Camera, we'll get the details. April 30th, okay, April 30th at Precision Camera, and that would be at 7 o'clock?
6:30.
6:30?
There's
Okay.
an Eventbrite thing you can get tickets for. I'll forward the link to you. And
Okay.
You can send it in.
All right, but they're not charging a fee, are they?
No.
No.
Okay, good.
And no one ever checks tickets anyways. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, it'd be great to see Josh again, and he
And
does say
if-
great, he does do great critiques. And then is he asking people to send him a photograph so he can?
Yes.
You send it a raw file, send it?
Give her a mic, there we go.
Yeah,
What does Josh want you to do to get
He wants,
things said about him?
he wants
Yeah.
your edited photo and the raw file it came from. Then he talks about your edits and he does his own edits if he has anything he would do differently and discusses the different choices and everything. It's very, very educational.
It's great, yeah,
Yeah.
he's a very
Like you
strong.
you email him at Azul Ox.
Well, I'll.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
You email him the raw file
We'll
and
get it
your
sent
edits
out.
of the file, and then he does his own edits and talks
Okay.
about the difference. It's a very, yeah,
I
it's a
think
lot of
that
fun.
covers us for fifth Thursday. Do you have anything else for
oh,
us?
I just want to welcome Charlie Free. Where are you, Charlie? Charlie, stand up. He's joined a month or so ago, but he's here tonight, and we're so happy to have him here tonight. Go up afterwards and tell him what kind of photography you do, and he's great guy. And Bill Ham, where's Bill? Bill is a former member. He's missed out on a couple of years, but he renewed his membership, and we're so happy to have Bill back. And he got rid of his Fuji, and he's now got a Canon with a couple lenses. So if you're a Canon user, you can talk to him. So also I will recognize Robert Fong came last month, and he's a new member, Robert Fong. Did anybody remember him last time?
We said hello.
All right. So thanks very much. You can renew your membership anytime on our website. So thanks very much.
Mr. Verlin, show coordinator.
Until I hand it off to Mary. Okay, so if you had prints submitted to the library show, you have received notification about where you stand on all that. So get those prints ready. The date is on the website, but I believe the hanging is in early June. May 15th? Okay, May 15th. My bad. That's why you need a new show coordinator. But anyway, get your prints ready so that you can have them hung on time. We had one person opt out and Clay has opted to fill in for him. So we will be covered there. Everybody look at Shelton's. Yeah, real life interferes. He can't make it. So there you go. Also, there is the cafe, the coffee shop, and 12 pictures that we're going to end up needing for there. Clay, how soon do we need those?
I'm sorry,
For the coffee shop?
it's May something. We haven't decided, but I think it's like May something, right before the other show as well. So it's
Very, very soon. So if you got some other pictures you would like to show in a coffee shop,
yeah.
yeah,
You can only take 12, so that's it.
yeah, short list.
Gary, you don't have to get up if you want to talk about our ramble.
Sure.
Hi, peoples. We have a couple ramble ideas coming up. First of all, on the Saturday next, which is, I think, the 25th, 24th, 25th, whatever, Saturday next of April, we'll be wandering around the Red Poppy Festival up in Georgetown. So that's always lots of fun. We try to get there a little bit early. Technically, the festival begins at 10 o'clock with their parade, which is near the square. I like to get there about 8:30, kind of before most of the cars start. Kind of walk around, and you can occupy your time taking pictures of people. You can occupy your time waiting for the parade and shooting the parade, or while they're preparing for the parade. You could walk around the neighborhood and do the wildflowers in the neighborhood because people have lots of poppies in their yards. Lots of things to take pictures of. You just walk around and take pictures of architecture, things like that. Lots and lots of choices here. Lots of fun. Hopefully the weather will be nice and not horribly hot. And I see that hand. And there is a shuttle bus system. They're blocking off the roads around the Georgetown Square. So they're doing shuttle buses from the high schools, either East Side out on 29 past 130 or Georgetown High School to get down to the square. So you probably want to plan for that. I set a start time for us of 8:30 on 7th Street in front of the courthouse. Mary.
If you're going to be there at 8:30, are the shuttle buses running that early?
Do what now?
If you're going to be there early at 8:30, can you park anywhere near or are the shuttle buses running at that point?
Yeah, I need to double check the website to see what that says. So it's not real clear. I do know that the first time I went, which was probably before the pandemic, Bill and I showed up as a shuttle bus site at 8 o'clock and it was running. So I think they start early because it's a lot of people that are going to move in and out. Yes, sir.
To piggyback on Mary's question, get there early and park close because you can get logged in.
The other choice is get there early and do the best you can. Yes, absolutely. Lots of choices. I think some of the parking garages are going to be open too. But they're making parking difficult. That's all I want to get across here. Okay. So that's important to know. Two, we want to do an outing to a local town on the 9th of May, be a Saturday morning outing. The idea will be we'll get together, carpool out to something. I'm looking at land passes, but I bring it up because I want ideas. If there's a local town around the Austin area that you think would be interesting to go visit for a photo walk, I want to hear about it. So send me an email or text me if you know my phone number. That's all I do. And then we'll figure out something. And I'll probably make a decision by Sunday or Monday, and we'll get the announcement out on that too. A couple more coming up that I want to do at later in May, and hopefully one more in June before it gets god awful hot. So things are happening, but stay tuned. Again, you get the email from the club, and I post to the Facebook group for NAPfS. Is where those announcements happen. That's it.
All right, I guess it's Patrick, since everything's changing again.
Hello. Oh, gotta turn around. Hi there. Okay, so presentations for this coming couple of months. If I get everybody's names properly, Bill is presenting this evening. I told him he was presenting in next month, but oh well. So our guest from the APPA, Roy, has requested that he get moved out to June. And so I have asked Gary, and Gary is moving to the May meeting for the presentation. So Gary will be talking about some advanced topics in Lightroom. Am I correct? Yes. Well, I'll leave it at that. And
Yeah.
yeah. And then
Editing in Lightroom, correct?
yeah,
Editing, image editing.
Yes, editing in Lightroom, but not advanced. It's accessible things that you might not know about.
Okay. So that'll be in May. Roy will be talking about the concept of how to take an image from a concept itself through raw to getting a final image. It's not the technology of how to do it. It's the thought process of how to do it. And then July, working on that. Person I was hoping to get is perennially out of town from July until like December. So we'll find someone to fill that one in. So that's where we are.
All right. I guess that leaves me in the hot seat.
And so tonight, I'd like to introduce Bill Bunton. Bill Bunton is going to be talking about digital asset management.
Damn.
Are you going to be swearing at us tonight, Bill? Is that what this is?
I may use damn occasionally.
Okay, so darn, Bill's going to be talking about dams. Okay, so digital asset management for photographers, and I'm going to leave it at that because it's a Lightroom. It's just
We're not touching a single tool.
Oh.
We're going to go from the point in time that you hit the shutter release until you have your images on disk and have them backed up and protected.
I need to know all of this because I'm going on a cruise and I have no idea what I'm doing with my images for 19 days. Thank you, Bill.
I have a process for you. I'll actually share the PowerPoint with everyone. We'll get Ed to put the PowerPoint up so you can get it. I'm not going to try to follow this PowerPoint directly, but it is a good overview of what I intend to talk about. So we're going to talk about shutter release to protected. Your images are at risk until you have them backed up both locally and remotely. What we're going to talk about, and I think we've just covered most of this, is travel workflows, normal import workflows, ways to reduce risk, and maintain your images. What we're not going to talk about is editing techniques, Lightroom, Photoshop. We're not going to talk about AC power failure very much. Long-term archives or corporate down environments where you have more than one or two photographers' images to manage, and maybe other digital assets. On power. Just talked with Mary and Verlin just a little bit earlier. You probably need a UPS for your desktop machine. If you don't run on a laptop, you need a UPS. And you need to be prepared to shut down your system if the power stays out for more than 2 minutes. You need to ride through 2 minutes and turn it off.
Your voice is fading out.
Your mic, that was someone on the.
Oh, thought it was gone.
He got quiet.
Can you get, is the mic? I haven't changed it.
It's good.
back to power. When we studied this at Tandem built for building the nonstops, we learned that if power went out for more than 2 minutes, it was probably going to be out for hours or days. And most recently, my experiences fit that. So kind of looking at the life cycle of the image, getting back to the real theme of this. You have capture when you hit the shutter release. You have temporary storage, that's the card on your system or in your camera. Then you import it into your system, and then you finally back it up. And the light white area is just editing and output. We're not going there. Where are images lost? They can be lost almost anywhere in your process. They can be lost because you didn't have autofocus set in your enabled on your lens, because your camera body failed. I hit the shutter release on a D3 and it went clunk and gave me an error message, and that was end of the discussion for that day. I didn't bring a spare body. So you need to protect your images from the moment of capture all the way until you get them on your system. So you can have hardware faults, you can have operator headspace faults, you can have camera or system faults, and you can just make minor errors in your copying process. So you need to be sure that you have a process that's easy to follow. Get a microphone.
Don't forget to start with formatting your card. I've lost a lot because I forgot to format it first.
Hmm.
You can't say nothing that way.
So this falls in kind of one of the things that I say chimping may be a good thing to do. When you bring up when you set up your camera to go out and shoot, take a few frames, look at them. Are they on your card? Is the lens focusing? Is the camera doing about the right thing? You've just then verified part of your path. So kind of going back to the really important thing here, every stage introduces the possibility of losing the image until you get it in multiple places. Some of us shoot cameras that have 2 flash cards, and we can configure those to maximize storage or to have redundant storage. You don't know that your redundant storage is working unless you check it. So one of the themes is going to be verify everything, usually by just looking, but verify. So kind of a big takeaway here is stuff happens. A good workflow survives them. So if you have a process in place that covers this with the redundancy, you'll survive. The probability of failure anywhere in this system is non-zero. Even as far as going out and shooting on your tripod. Your camera could fail, your lens could fail, your flash card could fail, your tripod could fail. Your L bracket on your camera. Very, very low probability, but it could fail. I've had tripods fail. So bottom line here is any part of your system can fail, including your ingest and your ability to get data off your flash cards. Images are lost when you have an error and you don't have a recovery path. Dave, you had a question? Get a microphone. Get a microphone.
On my camera, at least a few times I've reviewed my photos and accidentally hit lock on them. And I didn't realize the image was locked.
There's always an opportunity for the human to get involved and foul things up. When I started this, I thought about some of the work I'd done as an electrical engineer, computer architecture, and decided I'd do a Markov model so we could discuss it and really understand what the availability is. Well, once I got into this, I started to do a model of just a camera, lens, and 2 flash cards. It's about 3 times more complex than the drawing you're looking at there. And it's not worth the effort, because the real thing to learn about this is that failures happen. You can't predict when they're going to happen. All you can do is have redundancy to cover you through that failure and repair it, get back to full redundancy as quickly as possible. So the takeaway here is, if you have something fail, fix it, get it fixed. And your images are not safe until they're really in multiple locations. And in probably the best case for a professional photographer, avid amateur, is that you have them on your system disk, you have them backed up on an external disk in your house, and you have them backed up remotely. And the resilience of each of those locations is probably increases with time or with the move. You start with 1 flash card, you go to mirrored disk in your workstation. This is a RAID 0 for people that pay attention to that. You go to your network attached storage. Verlin's going to argue with me.
In the maple disk, you lose one disk, you lose both. The speed, RAID 1's mirrored disks.
Okay. Mirrored disk is all I've ever called it. And Windows now gives you the option to do a software mirror or use the disk controller on the motherboard to do the mirroring. Good workflows are designed to live through the eras. You want to have something in place so you don't get caught off base. Kind of like we were talking about here, flash card, you're most vulnerable. Most of us only have 1 flash card. I live on the edge and shoot 1 card most of the time. If it's a trip of a lifetime, I may shoot redundant cards. As soon as you get it to your workstation, you have a copy of it. As soon as you import it. Then the local backup that we talked about, the Synology drive, external storage, you're covered. Now you're pretty well covered against any hardware failure and some operator errors. But the real final one is the offsite. You have to be offset to protect yourself from fire, theft, and flood. Another thing here is, if you copied it, it doesn't mean that it's protected. If you don't know your copy was good, didn't do some sort of test on it, you don't know it's good. Now, in a major IT environment, or used to be in old mini computer world, there were applications or commands to verify a copy. Most of us live open loop with Windows today. Do a copy, it says it did it, it probably did it. Most of the time it did it, but there are some applications out there that will verify. Some of them are pretty smart in that they store checksums, not just a bit per hit compare. So they create a checksum when they move it, then they can recompute it on its destination and just say, do these 2 128-bit values match. Virtually guaranteed that the files are intact. These can also be used to detect bit rot.
If you,
Go ahead.
on MS-DOS, if you go to the command window and use Xcopy, it has a verification
Okay.
option.
I didn't dig that deep in my research.
Okay, that's what I use all the time.
Okay. Did everybody understand what Ed said? So in Windows, in the command window, you can use Xcopy, which gives you the ability to verify the copy.
Hey, Bill, I have a quick question, and maybe you might be getting into this or not. But as part of my process, I am looking at the files before I copy them across, and I do a purge of what I don't like. Do you do that, or do you copy everything and back it up first before you do that?
Let's wait. I'm going to go through a complete
Okay.
workflow, and I'm going to do a workflow that I do when I come back to my workstation at home. And I'm going to go through the workflow that I use when I'm traveling.
Okay.
So 3 copies is the bottom line. You need to have your working copy. You need to have a backup copy that can be at home. And you need to have an offsite copy. Years ago, people used to wag disk drives back and forth to work because that was their offsite backup. Now we've got cloud sources that can back up your data for you. So we want to talk about workflow now. Shelton kind of led us into it. So like I've said earlier, I'm going to talk about 2 very common paths. One that is just my desktop machine. Bill, you're taking serious notes there. I'm going to make this PowerPoint available. So I'm coming home with my flashcards, or I'm traveling. I've got my laptop, flashcards, SSDs. That's the way I'm going to travel. Another thing to mention here is that there's part of the community that doesn't want to ingest all or import all of the images they took. And they push things like photo mechanic and real raw, is that correct, Jerry? Fast raw viewer as a way to be selective about what they import into their system. Let me see if I can move this around. Yeah, now I can read the screen. So like I was saying, there's some workflows that bring in other things to just look at the images very quickly and say, no, I don't need that one of corner 15 with nothing happening. Or I was shooting for the bumblebee on the flower and there's no bee present. I don't need to keep that image. So that just lets you, before you really commit to moving into your management system, reduce the number of images that you're going to work with. What changes when you do this? Absolutely nothing. You still are working with your raw image, the one off the flash card. You need to be sure it's in place and protected. Not until you commit to your organized file system do you start to have some protection. So kind of the stages here in my primary workstation are, I got a flash card. I could do optional culling. I may actually try that, but I have to kind of back out of where I am. Then I import into Lightroom. I import into Lightroom with a copy. Never copy, import it in place, never move it. Copy. Once it's on my primary storage in the directory structure that I use, it is immediately backed up and synced to the mirrored drives. Or not to the Synology NAS. And once that's done, as time passes, they will get transferred to, in my case, Backblaze, so that they're backed up remotely. And Backblaze, oh, we got another question. Yes, ma'am.
What is Synology? Is that a brand name?
It's a brand name. It's a network attached storage. They come from 2 to 20 drives in the expansion boxes. I have a small one that's 5 drives. But once you can set up your desktop machine, its images get copied to Backblaze. And Backblaze gives you both remote storage and the ability to go back and get a single file. And they keep some backups so that, for instance, your home accounting is in the Backblaze backup. And you can go back to 2 months ago where you made the error and just pick that up. So it's something you really ought to have on your system, photographer or not. So those are the steps that I use to get in the system. Ooh, color. So the initial capture state, the flash card, you're really vulnerable. If you're working in a single card system, you've got that one copy, that's it. As soon as you bring it onto your system, you have one copy of it. Then once you've got that one copy, and you may move data a couple of times in there, depending upon the workflow, then you're going to put it somewhere where the sync application for the NAS will pick it up and put it on the mirrored drives. When I import images, I know everything's working because I can hear the drives chattering. Once that's happened, hours later, maybe days, depending upon how much you brought in. If you bring in 7,000 images in one import, it takes a while to get them loaded to the cloud. Even if you have 1 gig fiber. So that's kind of the flow for normal workstation. Travel workflow. Now you're out and about. You got your camera, flash cards. I carry a laptop. I think it's really important because that's the first verification that you've got good data. Besides chimping, it's your first verification that you've got good data is when you put it on your laptop and look at it there. So my actual hands-on workflow for this is I come back, I take one of the cards out of my camera. I use my laptop to transfer it to an external SSD. Now I've made a second copy of my flash card. I really don't know whether that copy is any good or not. I then import from the SSD to the Lightroom catalog. Then I can look at the image and say, yes, what I thought I captured, what I saw in the camera, I have captured in 2 places now. I've verified 2 places. Both the SSD and the Lightroom catalog. And I keep my personal laptop really lean on what's stored on it, so I can put all of my travel images on that internal SSD. Then When I get home with that, I'm going to import those images into my desktop machine. So when I bring it into, when I get home from travel, I actually have 3 copies. I still have the flash card. I probably have a second flash card. I have the SSD and I have the laptop. And if I'm feeling really, really paranoid, I'll put the SSD in my pocket while I'm on the plane, as opposed to leaving it in a bag in the overhead. That way, if I escape the plane that crashed, I still have my images.
I've done that.
I've never given this any thought.
Can't grab your bag, so
Totally done that.
Just barefooted jeans, I got my images.
You have to go down the slide. They're not gonna let you. Get your stuff.
I've got a phone in my pocket that's bigger than the SSD. So just real important is keep things separated. You've got a flash drive, you may have 2 flash cards, and you've got a laptop. Put them at least in 2 bags if you don't put part of it in your pocket. When verification happens, we've talked about this fairly regularly. Verification happens every time you look at your image. There's no better way to say that I got it off of the flash card to my system other than a verified copy. And I may be on the way to using Xcopy. Any questions? I think this is the last workflow. Oh, one more thing here is on flashcards. Don't reuse your media. Don't reset it until you're sure that you have your remote backup. Be sure that you've had time for and had a report come back to you, an email, that your system has been synced to the cloud. Then you can reformat your flash card. And I format my flashcards before I go out to shoot with them every day. Every time I go out to shoot, I go out with formatted cards. Some people worried about write cycles to flashcards. You could shoot them full and reset them every day, and you wouldn't wear them out. Though flash memory cells wear out. How long do they last, Verlin?
Ever seen a low security camera when you're just constantly running the drive? It lasts for 10,000 writes.
10,000 writes? Oh, I forgot we have an expert on flash memory here. So I think we've already talked about getting things to the primary workstation. That's the whole goal of your travel workflow, is to have something that you can import onto that primary workstation. And you end up with several possible sources because of the way you've replicated things when you traveled. At least 3. Maybe 4 if you have a second flash card. Now go ahead, Patrick.
Before you get into folders, catalogs, and naming, you mentioned Backblaze as your off-site ultimate storage. Are you using that? Okay, so when you've started to edit an image, or maybe even completed your edits on an image, are you backing that up the 4 cycles as well, or 3 or 4 cycles as well? And if so,
My configuration,
yeah.
all of that happens automatically.
Okay.
Lightroom is going to write its edits into a log file, if you would. That log file is on my disk and it gets backed up when the system gets backed up. That active Lightroom catalog is very dynamic. But every time I close Lightroom, which I do every evening, it gets backed up. that writes a backup of the catalog file to a special pay-fill disk. So you have that. Backblaze will capture that. So in my case, it's on my dual storage, my mirrored drives. It's on my NAS, and Backblaze will get it overnight.
Bill, how many backups on your workstation do you save?
How many do I say?
How many, if you back up your Lightroom catalog every night, you're gonna have a million of them. How many of those do you save? Do you delete them?
I delete them fairly regularly, and I delete down to 3 or 4.
Okay, I've heard that 3, 4, 5 is
Gary?
safe.
So most backup programs do an incremental backup. So you did some stuff today, but you didn't change your whole computer today. You just changed 2 things. And then tomorrow you change 3 different things. And so it says, okay, I'm going to remember the 2 things you changed today and the 3 things I'm going to change tomorrow. And you have this whole timeline that you can go back through. It's not like a complete copy of your system every day.
That's true of backups like Backblaze. It's not true of mirrored drives. And it's not true of the Synology sync, the NAS sync. The NAS sync, you change something, it changes its copy. Now, it doesn't give you the opportunity to go back and say, what did I do 2 weeks ago? I want what I did 2 weeks ago. No, it's got a copy of what you did last.
I'm going to add a couple things here. Obviously, this whole discussion can rabbit hole really quickly. And I know we're trying not to do that. One, I have a very cool little waterproof case for my SD cards or my memory cards that works really great. If you want to carry it in your back pocket, get yourself a waterproof case, put your cards in there before you get on the plane, put it in your pocket. And
I
you're
have
covered.
2 of them.
Okay. So,
And they're mine are Pelican, and I keep fresh cards in one. When I use cards, I separate the pair into 2 different cases.
yeah, just pointing out the specifics of that.
This is what happens to somebody that spent 17 years doing fault-tolerant computers.
Right.
Bill actually flies in one case.
The other thing I was going to add here was you talked about leaving the files on the card once you've ingested them into Lightroom. Okay. I feel strongly, I could be wrong, but I feel strongly that a workflow for reformatting the cards means reformatting the cards just before you use them, not after
Concur.
you've used them and gone to the computer. Let them sit there, and then the next outing, if you need the space, format the card. That's the way I operate. I leave stuff on my terabyte cards for 3 months. And that way I know I have it. And sometimes I don't do my workflow properly and find out I've left things sitting there. I have to go fix them. So that way I'm saving my butt.
Yeah. I don't format cards until I'm about to go out and shoot. I rarely shoot multiple days or multiple events on a card. But I have done that, and the Lightroom import helps you with that because it rejects anything that's a duplicate when you try to import it. Let's talk about, go ahead, Dave.
From what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, on the reformatting, you still have the old pictures still on the card. And what I use is a SanDisk recovery. I can recover my photos even if the card's been formatted. Then after I've recovered everything, even if it might have been deleted by mistake or something, or card was formatted, then I'll use it to wipe my card completely clean, making it like a brand new card with no history of it on it anymore.
What I've tried to design a workflow for is where I never have to go to the extremes to recover something that's been deleted. So what I would like to have is something that I know I've captured it and gotten it in 3 places, before I even think about removing it from any of the storage that it was on. So let's look at how we organize storage. Now, we'll talk about how different ways of doing this, but really the bottom line of all of this is wherever you store your images, it needs to be in a file structure such that there's a root file for it. And you can back up that root file. For data redundancy, that's what really matters, is that your backup system, your Synology that syncs, your Backblaze that backs up has one place to go. Now your Backblaze will do the whole desktop machine, all the disk on it. But there's two real different ways, divergent ways of organizing images. There's file system centric. I know that I put ballerina shoots in the file named ballerina, and I have years there and months, and maybe I have client names. I know one professional photographer who's a master photographer, and he keeps all of his stuff on separate disks. He keeps his bookkeeping on one disk drive. He keeps his portraits on one. He keeps his family shoots on a different one. You've got to manage that. There's nothing wrong with that. You can make it work, but it's sure the hard way from my point of view. The other way to organize things is to depend upon a tool like Lightroom, Capture One. I think there may be some open source versions of catalog-based systems. Catalog-based systems are about extracting metadata from your images. They know day, date, and time. They know which camera, what serial number. They can get all of this out of your image. And then you can add more metadata to it, like MotoGP, Valentino Rossi, Michael Schumacher. You can put those in the metadata, and then all you have to do is say, do I have a picture of Schumacher? Well, when I had to ask that question, I ended up having to go back, way back into F1 and look at images to find it. But it's marked now. It has metadata. So those are the two real categories. Do you put the intelligence in your file name and where you store it? Or do you put the intelligence and information in a database that's associated with your images? So in one case, you've got files, directories, etc. And that's how you find things. In the other case, you have the same structure, something below that, but that's not your primary way of identifying an image. It's the metadata about it. So I think we've kind of talked about tools and this organization. The Adobe Bridge, Adobe Photoshop are the tools that the old school PPA folks use to get at their images, and they have to if that's the tool flow you use, you have to organize your images in the file system. Any questions at this time? There's a hybrid approach to this that says, you know, in Lightroom, I can import images from my ballerina shoot, a directory that's ballerinas, and another directory that's MotoGP, and another one that's F1. I could import those into Lightroom, and I could use the same catalog system to get it, or I could go into the file system to find it. Not recommended, but can be made to work. Any questions? Clay's got a question.
So I seem to be logged into Microsoft, the files up in the cloud. What are they? to call that, or Google. OneDrive, sorry, yeah, OneDrive or Google. And I probably have checked images as one of the backup types. So I've got that going on. And sometimes I just get so confused between whether it's in the cloud. It's usually in the cloud. So, but then do you have any thoughts on Google or Google Albums or the Microsoft OneDrive?
To be very honest, I haven't dug into that.
Anybody want to
And-
comment?
Oh, Gary has dug into this. You went down that rat hole.
Okay, I'm going to take a few moments of your time and say the first thing you do is get rid of OneDrive. Never use OneDrive because it's one copy. It's on their server, not on your machine. And if you delete it, it's gone. Never use OneDrive. You can deinstall it from your machine, disable it, get rid of it. There are Google steps necessary to get it off of your machine every time.
Same
Okay.
with Apple.
Okay.
On my iPhone, it automatically backs up and
Okay.
it always gives me a
Somebody
message.
burn on the mic.
Well, I'm gonna get to those, Clay.
Okay, tell
I'm
me
gonna get
about
to
that
those.
so I don't
Am I
lose
right
it.
on OneDrive? Okay, let's move on to the next one. You mentioned Google Drive. Okay. Oh, Shelton.
One of the thing about OneDrive that I found very annoying is it interrupts your processes because while it's trying to back up, it just grinds everything to a halt.
There are lots of reasons we could say why not to use it. The biggest one is it's a copy on their server, not on your machine. That's not acceptable. You need to control your own files. Every other part of it sucks. Okay. Google Drive. Google Drive acts as a file system and makes a copy either only on your machine or on your machine and in the cloud or only in the cloud. It's a file system. It's temporary storage, never treated as permanent. Okay. I write to my Google Drive so that I can have something accessible remotely. That's the only reason I use it. It is not for storage of your important information as a single copy solution. Okay. Apple, same thing. None of the cloud services are designed to be a primary storage system that you should rely on. It's a caveat that you should rely on. Okay. Local copies. If you need a backup of your files, Backblaze is your solution, and it costs $7 a month, unlimited storage with versioning and recovery. Did I get that right? Well, I'm paying $7, but it'll probably go up next year.
Okay, so the Apple trick. Apple Photos is just like he said, right? If you have a photo on your iPhone and you delete it, it also deletes it from the Apple Photos library in the cloud and it's gone. If you have Apple Photos on your computer at home and you time machine backup to the cloud, that is separate from your Apple Photos library. And if you delete it, you can recover it. iCloud. Also, Apple will keep your recently deleted photos for 30 days. So if you make a mistake, you can fix it right then, but you got to fix it pretty quick.
But you mentioned Time Machine, and that is a Mac only solution.
Well, the whole
Well, I use Apple phone and I use iCloud on my Windows machine. So I'm kind of a bastardization, if you will, or an appalling combination. How's that? Okay. And I don't want to take up any of your time, but I wanted to make the point that OneDrive and Google Drive are either evil or not reliable. Is that fair?
Fair with me.
Okay, Berlin's nodding. I'm good.
We got Gary and Berlin to agree the world is wonderful for a few moments now.
Making sure I'm not speaking out of turn here, but yeah.
They're a hybrid workflow. We kind of mentioned it. You can name your files within Lightroom and have all of the other Lightroom capabilities to support it. I'm not sure how much that buys you. The place I use naming files is at the lowest leaf level of the tree. I will edit in Photoshop an image, and when I bring it back to Lightroom, I will go change its name. For instance, master. I will put, when I've finished something for a print competition or a competition, I'll bring that image back full scale and rename it, just part of its name. So it ends up in the same sort area, but it's marked as something special, not just a virtual copy or not something that I edited. So I think that's really the things about hybrid workflow. I've thought about maybe go change November 14th to F1, November 14th F1. But I've got F1 all through the metadata, so I'm not sure it's important. Simple ingest is not a limitation. If you have an ingest system or import system that you throw the flash card in there, you say import, and it ends up in the right place in your file system. And you don't have to think about what to call it because you've gone out and shot red poppies or yellow poppies in Georgetown, which is something you haven't done in the past. You don't have to think about it. Once it's been imported, you can select that whole day's image and say Red Poppy Festival. You can put Georgetown on it also. So you can give it multiple keywords so you can go back and find that shoot. The important thing to remember about all this file organization is something I've said previously. You need to know where it is. It needs to be in the right place for what it is. And I'm not sure I'm to the right slide, but it's important sometimes where a file lives. So your images want to be, and I think the next slide covers it, yeah. Your images want to be where you have lots of storage and redundancy. They're protected at some level. But you're not that concerned about speed. You probably don't want them off on network attached storage as your only copy because that'll be slow. But if they're on a spinning disk versus a solid state disk, it doesn't matter. You won't see the speed. But that Lightroom catalog is very speed critical. Catalog-based systems are going to be going to that catalog all the time to store metadata, to store edits. All of that stuff needs to be stored there. So that probably ought to go on an SSD, the fastest drive you've got. In my case, it's one that's dedicated to speed. And I use it for very little else. Now, the backup files that Lightroom creates every time you exit and say backup, they need to be put someplace secure where they'll be backed up. Kind of in my case, they go back on that mirrored pair of disks within a directory hierarchy with all of the images. So that when the images get backed up, those backup files get backed up. And they, yes, they accumulate, and I go in and whack out 30 of them at a time. But I always keep the 3 to 5 most recent ones so that I have a place to recover. So I think this is a slide, yeah, the working catalog. This is what I've just covered. Images go where it's big and fast. It's critical to keep them protected. Your working catalog is always a place of vulnerability, but you have a backup of it from the last time you shut down Lightroom. So you have a very narrow window for a failure to occur there. And then the backup catalogs are something you need to hang on to for a while. So here's the directory structure I use. I have a Lightroom directory. Inside it, I have Lightroom images directory, and it's stored by year, month, day, image file. Whatever the camera named it, I don't care. It can stay that way. It's got my copyright in the file. It's got my name in the file. It's all there. It's just not at the file system level for you to look at. So, there's an example. It's Lightroom directory 2026 0406 DCS XYZ, or it's usually numbers with Nikon, NEF. So there's a file. I have no clue what that is, but I can go figure out what it is either by metadata or simply opening Lightroom and looking at it. You will find in the directory, you'll start to see some things that show up edited or show up as a TIFF file. These are things that have been out to some other tool to be processed and brought back into the Lightroom catalog management system. It's simple. It's stupid simple. I don't think when I import images. I'm probably just dragging sometimes. This is an import that Lightroom supports easily. It'll also gladly rename all your files, put your name on them, put the event on there. It's just redundant. So kind of summary, and we've moved quickly with as much conversation as we've had, partially because I forgot to read the files of the slides. Failure is a fact of life. Everything's going to fail. I've said this before. It's just what the failure rate is, how probable is it to fail. And in our camera systems, file management is the most likely thing to fail us. It's got too many human interventions in it that we can foul it up. Images are not safe until they're fully protected. That means 3 places: your working storage, your local backup, and your remote backup. Good workflows always have a recovery path. Verification matters. This is your chimping. This is when you bring something into your laptop, look at it. You don't have to dig deep. Chances are, if it fails, it's going to be a big failure. You'll see it because you don't have images that you thought you should have. Don't reuse flash drives or stuff too early. Be sure you've got your full backup in place before you move on. Simple imports reduce mistakes. If I'm not thinking about what file structure I'm going to put an import in, I don't make mistakes. Storage should be selected for what its purpose is. Is it there for resilience? Or is it there for speed? What are my compromises? Good damn is invisible when it works. If your system works, you don't have to think about it. Any more questions? We've gotten a lot of questions, gotten a lot of answers.
So we've lived long enough to see a number of changes, media going away, videotape gone, DVDs going. What's your forecast for thumb drives and SSDs? And you said don't depend on those. Don't just leave all your valuable stuff. Don't consider them backup, is what you're saying? Because it might disappear.
Say,
We'll lose them. You got a new technology?
Okay. Paula wants to speak.
Okay, so there is always new media coming. There's something new just around the corner, and you'll see everybody get excited about whatever the next big thing is, and it may or may not happen. You know, it could be Betamax, and it goes away, right?
It was better.
I agree, but it didn't make it. But you transfer your pictures from spinning disk to SSD. If you want to still use DVDs, I still own the very first DVD I ever bought, and it still plays, and that was from 1995, so it's got some mileage on it. If you take care of them, you know, you could back up to DVDs and do that for a long time. But the truth is that, you know, this stuff is pretty easy to move around. And even a physical print has a lifespan. So if you were to print everything and put them in a shoebox upstairs, it would have a lifespan. So this is easy to copy when, you know, magnetic crystals come into play or quantum vortex storage. You move off the SSD to this new thing and store it there. But the number one source of lost images, you didn't have your camera with you.
Followed by fat fingers.
Yeah, I'll add this. Clay, you mentioned VHS, and that's an analog format, right? So I think the magic of digital is that it's very easy to convert the formats. And even though some of the formats for example, image files, GIF, JPEG, whatever, those are very old, using the term loosely. Even those are old formats, they're not going away. And they probably will never go away. So even if they do, we can convert to something else and we're okay. Okay. I think your biggest failure point is probably a spinny drive, because they do have a smaller mean time between failure than SSDs, and they do wear out. But I've had spinny drives last a decade or more. So I've been lucky. Pardon? Well, yes, that too. Yeah. Yeah.
I have spinning discs at work that have been spinning since 1994. Including one time when we had to find a working copy of DOS 3.2. You still find them. I still got them in my garage. with portable drives. Sometimes you have
Questions and discussion. I think we've got started real well on this. I took the mic away from Shelton.
I got one. What about the security of your files when you put them up on Backblaze? How secure is that?
So here. Encryption is a whole thing. Now, if the entire might of the Chinese government decided they needed Sheldon's pictures, they're not going to hack it. They're going to come at you with a wrench and beat it out of you. You know, the spy movies aside, you know, Backblaze is a software service. Could it be hacked? If so, the most likely point of failure is your password. When you used your wife's birthday for your password and some hacker figured it out. I could go a whole thing on how to make a complex password, but the truth is that if the entire might of the Chinese government decides to throw a room full of NVIDIA 5090s to crunch your password, they can. So Backblaze is good. It's secure. It's going to protect you from more likely things like someone breaking into your house catching fire, your house being in a flood. On-site catastrophes like that is what it'll protect you from. And because you have your on-site storage in two places, if they do hack your account and steal your Backblaze, you still have a copy of your photos.
Yeah, I wasn't too worried about my photos. I was thinking if I decide to do a backup process and I'm using Backblaze. I want to back up other things. And that's why I was asking a question. Sorry.
So then it's, okay, hashing and how good is security, and it's pretty good, but it's not invulnerable. And if there's enough there, then it becomes a tempting target and hackers will try to figure it out. Again, you're most likely the weakest point, but not always. Adobe, right after I signed up for the subscription, got hacked and a bunch of passwords were leaked.
Yeah.
It does happen, and the risk is not zero.
But the risk is not zero for them taking over your computer to get you clicked on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all that stuff you're backing up is there.
Yeah, same way.
Okay.
I'll say that I think that your biggest fear is probably phishing. People stealing your identity and pretending to be you and managing to get in that way. Backblaze isn't a part of that. So if you're practicing good habits of secure passwords and being diligent and careful, not using the same password everywhere because it's your dog's last name, whatever, I think you're probably in pretty good shape. So it's take a holistic approach to security and don't pick out one thing as a potential hole.
Right.
It's, I think, the strategy. Ran away. Right.
I don't have any more. I'm interested.
Actually, I had one more. So we talked a little bit about OneDrive, and we've talked about Backblaze as an online solution for making a copy of your files out in the cloud. But if you don't want to do that, what if you don't want to do that? Okay. So we mentioned spinny drives. Spinny drives are fine. Okay. And they can be relatively inexpensive now. Okay. So if you want to have a backup copy off-site, you can have an external spinny drive, right? Plug it into your machine, manually copy your files to the spinny drive, take the spinny drive and give it to a friend. Go take it somewhere else. Okay. The question is, how big a drive do you need? All right. So your first task is understanding what you're doing on your computer, thinking about, I have 4 terabytes of space on my SSD, and it's kind of a quarter full of photos and like that. So maybe I want a 6 terabyte drive or an 8 terabyte drive. I'm just making up numbers here. Okay. You get a spinny drive that's 8 terabytes, costs a couple $100. You make the copy, you put the drive elsewhere. Right? That's the part that fails most. People don't do that, right? That is where you are failing, okay? So think about this. Figure out how much storage you might need currently, double that, so you got some growth. Go get a drive, make the copy, give it to a friend, right? And just a one-time cost, and that cost is going to be good for a while. Okay. When you reach the point where I have reached, I have 30 terabytes on my main computer and I have 200,000 files on my Lightroom catalog. I have to use Backblaze because I don't have the space to make a copy of that on a single drive. I have a NAS set up with 24 terabytes on it for a copy, and I have an 18 terabyte drive for backups. Okay. Am I using them reliably? No, because I'm just as bad as the rest of you. But Backblaze has saved my bacon. So it's worth it to me to pay that $100 a year so that I've got that copy out there that I can retrieve if I need it. And yes, I've needed it.
Yeah, all of these systems that depend upon repeated action by a photographer fail. You will eventually not make that weekly backup and take it and put it in your drawer at work or take it to your buddy's house.
So workflow.
Yeah, it's workflow.
Develop your workflow.
It needs to be something that you don't have to think about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Berlin wants to talk about passwords, I can tell.
How hard is this password to remember? You sure? It says, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Now pick your favorite song, your favorite Shakespearean quote, or whatever.
Love song.
Something you can remember. and you can make an incomprehensible password as long as you want.
And longer is better.
And longer is better.
Much better.
And even a small difference, if I change this U from an uppercase U to a lowercase u, the password that you are actually sending out there into the wild is completely different. I mean, completely different. So when you send this up to, you type it in for your Google password, say, for example, and no, this isn't my Google password, so don't try it. But if you were to send this up there, it wouldn't send this. What it would do is it would hash this into something that is 1,028 characters long, and it's got every key you could imagine in it. But if you change this U to a lowercase u, it's a different 1,028 characters. It won't be at all the same because it's hashed that way.
Rabbit hole time.
Well,
If you guys have a few seconds to indulge me. So the latest thing now is you get this note from Google and Windows saying, hey, why don't you use a passphrase? Or passkey. Yes, sorry.
Okay, so passkey is you're redundant back to your device. It works if you have your device with you, and that's the catch. So, so it helps in that manner. But if your problem is that someone stole your phone, now you're going to have a more of a speed bump to get in. You still can. You haven't lost it as long as you have some other way of getting to your information, or you remember your password, whatever that was.
The passkey just number charge is like a password as alpha. You never see your passkey.
The computer is only sending alphanumeric data back and forth. So at the end of the day, whether it's your password, it's a number, or it's a picture, the computer just knows zeros and ones. So at the end of the day, it will be just zeros and ones.
Something you never even see it.
Yes, exactly. But you'd never remember it because it's 1,028 characters long or more.
So it's two factors.
Okay.
It only works because you have your device.
Yeah.
So you need to sort of have-
Yeah. So, yeah, it says, okay, I recognize your phone, so it must be you.
So you don't have to.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Yes.
But it doesn't take away spam. You still use the login password.
Yeah.
Then you'll have to do second factor authentication. There's only something to say.
Thank you very much. No, the thing that I was saying is that pass keys are something that makes it very easy for you to connect when you're using your own device. It's basically acting as a two-factor authentication all in one, and it's just one click and it knows that you are who you say you are, because this was generated only for your device and there's only one. And so other people can't get that and use it.
Passkey would be desktop, passkey for my phone. Those are different. And I don't have to remember it. It says, do you want to use the password or passkey? I select key.
Once the passkey is generated, then, but like if you have two Google accounts, you have one Google passkey, it only works on one. You can't get two passkeys for Google if you have two different emails. So there's some weirdness with that, but it does make it much easier to connect and prove that you're you, rather than putting in your password and then having to do some sort of two-factor authentication, or they send you a text, or you have to go to some other app and yeah, there are a whole bunch of different ways to do two-factor. This makes it so you don't have to do that, but it still has all the security of two-factor and more.
Modern way, right? It's coming.
Yeah. For a lot of times it's very convenient, but it doesn't take away your password. So when you don't have that, you're on a different device. I don't have a passkey, choose another way, then you can use your password. Then it's going to want to send you a second factor authentication thing, use Authenticator or whatever to continue through.
Yes, the passkeys are device specific. So the passkey on your phone is different than the passkey on your computer. Also, the passkey on your phone is different than the passkey on the phone that you're going to get next year to replace that phone, and you'll have to regenerate them.
Gotcha.
Experience. When you create a new account, create it with password, then set the passkey. Don't go around that. Because I got several accounts that I can't actually get into because I don't have that device. And I can't reset it because I don't have the device. Password first, then passkey.
Old school is better. I was going to add one more comment about OneDrive. If you are running OneDrive currently, you must make a copy of your files on some other thing before you shut down OneDrive and remove it. Otherwise, your files will disappear. You must, no, you make a copy first to some other location. Like some other drive on your machine. Make a copy.
An external SSD.
Outside of OneDrive. And then you can shut OneDrive down. It's very critical. If you do a Google, I just ran something about this yesterday, but if you do a Google, you will find many, many stories of people going, my files just disappeared. Because Microsoft did some really stupid things, not the least of which was implementing OneDrive and forcing people to adopt it when they installed Windows 11 in the first place. So yeah, we're all learning the hard way.
I just moved to Windows 11. But you step in OneDrive that I don't want to. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
This has kind of drifted into password and security type discussions. Let's bring it back and focus, just a second, Clay, and focus a little bit on, does anybody have questions on maintaining data integrity, keeping their files backed up where they should be, disk choice that they should have, file structures they should use?
You get backplays. Can you say just back up my photos, or does it back up your whole YouTube? You set it up. Okay. Okay.
So the default thing with backplates is typically it backs up one computer. And so if you have a network attached storage, it's not backing that up. It backs up the one computer. External hard drives, if they're all going into the same one, then it can back up all of that stuff.
Everything
And
that you have.
typically you would want it just to back up everything. And the first time it'll take a month. It'll take a long time the first time. And then everything that changes after that happens at night, and it should be pretty straightforward. And like on my system, I have a mic.
Face the camera, Ty.
So one of the things that I'm doing is that I have a direct attached storage array. So that's 5 disks in a RAID array. So if a drive fails, I can replace it. And I would not trust any spinning disks if they weren't in a RAID. They fail all the time. And if it's just one in a RAID, then you can replace it and everything keeps going. And even when that one is out, everything keeps going. And if you have direct attached storage and then you do the backup, then it could get all of that too. So you could have terabytes attached to your computer. Having a whole bunch of little drives, sooner or later, I mean, they get bumped or whatever and they fail. So they are good for moving stuff around. They're not really very good for backup in themselves. And then a couple other things for geeky people. I have the Synology connected. I have a couple of them in the house of different vintages, but on the newer ones, I can run some software that I can connect to it from outside through a virtual private network. So even when I'm traveling, I can actually connect back to my Synology and have it send the stuff from the hotel room when I'm sleeping at night, and I carry around my own router too. So So
Patrick, I think one of our next speakers should be home IT.
Yes. Let's thank Bill. We're going to see you on the 30th at Precision Camera for Josh's presentation.
Josh says mean things.
a few of the other softwares that he talked about, I have on my laptop here too, if you wanted to see what some of those look like. And then I also use something called free file sync, and I pay for it, but there's a free version, and that is a very good way to, I can have lists of that I want all this stuff backed up to my Synology. I click on it once, and then I can have a whole bunch of different scripts that run. And so I usually do that anytime I come back and have imported a bunch of photos, run it. That could be once a month. It could be just like when I go to High Island, when I come back, as soon as I get all the files off my laptop onto the desktop, then I hit the button and it'll sync them to the local disk, and that disk will get synced to the Synologies. So that software is pretty good too. It's a GUI interface. It's more like the Xcopy, but with a lot more ease of use.
In an email for us.
Okay.
I think that's it, folks. We'll go ahead and end the Zoom meeting. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Clay.